Hey, what's up, and welcome back to another episode of the Relationship Schools podcast, where we teach you how to have successful, fulfilling, long-term relationships. That could be friendships, family relationships, or partnerships. That's what we take a stand for here. All right. Hopefully you're getting by now, if you've been around this podcast, that there's a lot of great content in here. And if you focus on the action step at the end of each episode and you actually do it, your life and your relationships are probably improving to some degree. All right. So this is free and available to anyone. Please share with a friend that's in need right now, especially if they're open to it. If they're open to getting help. If they're not open to getting help, I wouldn't recommend that. And yeah, thank you for subscribing. Thanks for your reviews on iTunes. We've got hundreds of reviews, 5-star reviews on iTunes, and just wanted to say thanks to Over 25 and Counting, who basically has been married to my husband and high school sweetheart for almost 27 years. And this person goes on and on to say, man, we've been through a lot. We've healed, we've grown. Sometimes I listen twice. I can already feel relief. I can already see how my husband and I are using practical, logical tools to navigate our relationship more positively. So awesome. So thank you, Over 25 and Counting, that's what your name is, for doing the work and like implementing. Thanks. Means a lot. Thanks for your review. Appreciate you today. So if you want to leave us a review, please do that on your phone on Apple Podcasts. You can do it on Google Play or Spotify. Thanks again. Okay, in this episode, we're talking about codependency. That's right, codependency. What is it? And what are some signs and symptoms? And what is the way out? All right? Yeah. So codependency often gets a kind of a negative rap in the relationship space. Oh, you're so codependent. Oh, that's so codependent of you. Ooh, you better not be in a codependent relationship. And I just want to try to normalize once you understand what it is, you'll feel maybe a little less crazy and a little more apt to change some behaviors on your part, okay? Because codependency is just one way of doing relationships. It's fine. It actually works for the two people in it, but it's not the highest expression of the two of you, and it's definitely not seeing what's possible, all right? But if we understand humans, as I often say, we understand behavior and it makes sense. Behavior makes sense when you understand someone's history. Okay, so I wanted to start by talking about what codependency is, and then we'll get into some signs, symptoms, and kind of how to deal, right? So I found an article by Ross Rosenberg online called The History of the Term Codependency, and it's very good. And I learned from him, and obviously Googling this and studying it in grad school. Stan Tadkins shared some great things here on the podcast about it. But basically, the term came from the AA world, Alcoholics Anonymous. What they found over time was that if they didn't treat the system, which is the family that was involved with the alcoholic person would not get well. They wouldn't. Their progress was very compromised. So they started working with the family, which was essentially Al-Anon, is getting people who are not, quote, alcoholics, but are helping or enabling the alcoholic or in relationship with them, they would get them into treatment. And often it was just support groups. And so initially the term came from the AA world, and it was called co-alcoholic, because if I'm in a relationship with you and let's say you're drinking and I don't drink, but you drink, and I'm living with you, I am living in a dynamic where you're choosing your alcohol over me most of the time. But I love you and I care about you and I want to see you get better. So I keep trying to help you and I keep trying to suggest things. I keep maybe minimizing the behavior, or I overreact. Whatever it is I do, I become the co-alcoholic. I'm kind of a co-conspirator in the process here of like your addiction. And there we stay stuck. So initially it was chemically dependent. And that morphed eventually into codependent. And the codependent dynamic is this. You're in a relationship with someone who has an addiction or someone who is narcissistic or has a lot of intense defense strategies, and you are in the helper role as the, quote, codependent. You're the helper. You're an enabler. You're a rescuer. The other person is either a perpetrator or a victim, and we have a very stable relationship dynamic because so long as you have an addiction, I have someone to help. And so I stay stuck in this kind of unilateral relationship dynamic where I help you, but you don't help me. But we're both getting something out of it. So this is the important thing to understand where codependency works on a kind of functional level. It's working. Because you have to think the person in a relationship is enabling the behavior, or they're trying to help the person get sober or get better or be less depressed. And so the helper is getting something out of the relationship also. The addict or the depressed person, or whatever the condition may be, is getting help, right, by the other partner. And the other partner is getting some value out of helping. Because as a little boy or girl growing up in their family, they helped. They helped mom and dad. And they got value. They got less punishment and more reward. And little kids are suckers for this. And they learn what works, and they start doing more of that behavior, which is helping. So this is the codependent dynamic. I help you, and I get something out of it, but you're not necessarily helping me with my life. All right? Where it starts to change, and you want to think about this as kind of top down. I'm looking down upon you because you're the victim, and I'm up here as the helper, and I need to help you. And now we're in a codependent relationship dynamic. So that works, right? But it's limited, extremely limited. If we really want a mutual relationship, which we'll have a podcast coming out soon on that, mutuality means that it's more like a figure eight, where sometimes you're helping me with my problems, and other times I'm helping you with your problems. Sometimes I'm challenging you around your life and believing in yourself, because sometimes I have self-doubt, and sometimes you're challenging me. We challenge each other to grow, to awaken, to be ourselves. And we support each other. And we have each other's backs. Okay, that's a mutual relationship. And now we can focus on other challenges where when we get dysregulated, we can work to regulate each other through what's called interactive regulation or co-regulation. You're upset, I can help calm your nervous system down. I'm upset, you can help calm my nervous system down. We do this for each other because it's just good for our relationship. Pretty cool. So we have to evolve, though, out of our codependent ways if we want to get to that, earn that next level of functioning, right? That Stan calls secure functioning, that I call just a secure home base, where my relationship is a safe harbor and it's a launching pad, okay? All right, here's some signs that you might be experiencing some codependency in your relationship. First of all, you want to identify which side of the codependent dynamic are you on. Are you the person who's depressed or anxious or has a, quote, diagnosed problem? You have an addiction of some kind, and you're in a relationship with someone that likes to try to fix you, change you, help you, control you, etc. Or are you on the other side? Are you on the helping side? You're the helper. You're the one that was a good little boy or girl growing up that helped mom or dad, and that's how you got love, that's how you got approval and validation. Okay, so some signs are in your past, that's what you did as a kid. So let's just talk about the helper side, because that's mostly how, if you're listening, you're most likely wanting help, and usually the helper is the first person to ask for help. The depressed person, et cetera, is getting help from you, so why would they need to listen to this podcast? All right, so let's just talk about you, the helper. So some of the signs are you have a history of helping others. You have a history. That means when you were a young kid, you helped mom or dad or a sibling or a neighbor or a grandparent, and you became an adult at a very young age because you had to care for someone who was sick, dying, or had an addiction, and you're always trying to fix. Or maybe you were in a volatile family and you always were the mediator. You had to mediate the parents fighting. Okay, that can be another sign, all right, from your history. And in adult relationships, particularly intimate relationships, you find yourself in this role again. So your relationship started out fine, but then after months and years went by, your partner has a problem and you want to control it, fix it, change it, help. All right, that's your thing. So another sign here is that you have, you feel the need to control other people. You feel the need to fix or change other people. Okay, that's a big one. You have a hard time with boundaries. So you continue to allow this person to kind of control your life and your choices because of your lack of boundaries, which usually comes from your lack of self-worth or value. You also want to be liked. You have a real propensity to approval. And so if you help someone, even at the expense of yourself, your own time, money, energy, sleep, etc., it feels good to you, even though you're hurting yourself inside. So that's like being loyal. You're like the loyal friend, but it becomes, after decades of being loyal, you actually get sick inside. Read Gabor Mate's book, When the Body Says No, and you'll learn more there. You withhold your truth because you feel bad. You don't want to make it worse with the person. In a lot of your controlling, fixing ways are more covert. They're not like as direct as, hey, let's go get you some help. I scheduled a therapy appointment. Let's take you in. It can look like that, but often it's more kind of covert and subtle. Like, I just won't speak up and speak my truth about how I'm hurting over here because they need so much and I don't want to tip them over the scales because they could be suicidal or they could drink more and that might get us in a fight and I don't want to deal with more of that. So I'm going to tiptoe around. I'm going to walk on eggshells. All right. When they're upset, when the other person that you're enabling or helping is upset, you somehow feel like it's your responsibility. And that, again, just stems from your childhood. You grew up and mom or dad was feeling bad, and what kids do is they make it about them. Oh, mom is depressed because of me. And if mom gets worse, it's because I didn't help her enough. It's my job to make her happy. It could be that you put on a mask and you're actually anxious and depressed inside and you need a lot of help, but you're covering it up because that's what you do. You do not show other people your pain, your problems, because again, you think the problem is over there and you're so focused on the other person that you forget and neglect yourself. This also causes you to minimize the problem. It's not that bad. It's not that big of a deal. Years go by and it's like somehow you're with this person 10 years and this is the dynamic, this is the codependent dynamic. And it's like, whoa. And that all suggests, by the way, so those are a lot of the signs, that all suggests that you are getting something out of it. Okay? Whenever there's a really hurtful relationship pattern going on, usually we stay because we're getting something out of it, whether it's finances, we get emotional contact, we get sex, we get love and approval, we get attention, we get to be with someone versus being alone, which for a lot of us is a higher priority to be with someone, even though it's mediocre, than to be alone because that feels scarier, especially the older we get. So take a peek at look at what you're getting out of this, because that, even though that's challenging to do, and a lot of people will start getting defensive here, that also can be what sets you free. Because it can start to reframe the whole thing as like, whoa, what if I were responsible here and I took personal responsibility for, I'm co-creating this dynamic, therefore I can do my part of the dynamic by leaving or changing it, by changing myself, not by changing the other person, okay? That's the trap here, is you think sometimes that if you change the other person, then the relationship will get better. If you really help them get less depressed or get over their addiction, you'll feel better. And that's just not the case. Look at your own experience, okay? You get a lot of little teasers about that, but it never lasts, okay? And then you get credit for doing that. which maybe as a kid you wanted and got, but that's not really, you want a person to get well because of themselves, because they did the work. And that ultimately is going to help boost their self-confidence. If they attribute it to you, it's just going to be a matter of time before they crash and burn, because they can't ever live up to, you did this for me. I didn't do it on my own. They'll just fall back into the same rut again. All right, so what are some other things you can do? The biggest thing you can do, besides looking at what you're getting out of it and being really, really honest there, the next biggest thing you can do is to increase your self-worth and your value from the inside out. You might ask, well, how do you do that? Well, you start appreciating you outside of this relationship for who you are and what you've been able to accomplish in your life and what you do. And that your worth isn't about how much you help other people. You're worthy of love in and of itself without helping anyone. In fact, if you quit helping people for the rest of your life, you would still be worthy of love and care and attention. All right? So work on your self-worth. There's episodes in this podcast about that. Come to the relationship school. That's one of the biggest things that happens to people is their self-worth goes up. Okay, but that's 9 months of training. It's not like you just, I'm just going to love myself. Okay, I've done podcasts on that. It's not that simple, as you know. You got to put in the work to really, truly appreciate you in the context of your life and the people you hang with. That is work. There's no way around that. Yes, the spiritual people will say, you can do that right now. You can just accept yourself right now. True, but it doesn't last invariably. And so you'll bounce back to your patterns and habits within hours, minutes, or days, and you'll be back to judging yourself. So the more you can increase your own self-worth, the better, all right? The another thing is just to frame is please understand that codependency is just one way to do relationships, okay? It's the water you've been swimming in, so you might think that this is all you know. There are hundreds of ways to do partnership, and particularly family and close relationships. And because you're so used to it, you think this is all there is. No. There's a whole ocean of possibility out there in terms of how to do relationship. And I encourage you to go after a mutual relationship, one where you meet each other's needs. It's not just one way. It's both. You're both actually challenging and supporting each other. And you're in a relationship that is designed to help you grow. And you're a yes to that, both of you. If that's the case, you're going to do really well. Another thing you can do is if you continue to attract the same types of people where you find yourself in this role again, then you've got to look in the mirror and there's something from your history that you need to clear and work through. And when you change your perception about the past, your internal somatic experience will change, and then what you draw into your life will change. You'll be ready for the next challenging person. It won't be this type of dynamic. It'll be something else. So watch the fantasies that, everything's going to be perfect. No, you're going to have just as many challenges in the next relationship. They're just going to be different, and you're going to be different, and it'll be a different dynamic. But at least you'll have a partner who's in this with you, and it's mutual. Okay, eye level. It's not you looking down on them, trying to help them up to your level. And some of you growth development types got to watch this, the tendency to feel like you're superior to your partner who won't work on it. Okay, there's a flavor of codependency in that dynamic, all right? As long as you keep trying to help them. So just, pay attention to that. All right, great. Okay, that's been pretty wide-ranging here in terms of this definition, in terms of the signs, and then what to do. So I really want to encourage you to listen to this again. Look up some of the resources I'm putting in the show notes if you want to dig deeper. But at the end of the day, you can read all you want about codependency. But where the rubber meets the road and where transformation really begins is inside of your own heart, inside of your own body, inside of your own mind. And when you commit to changing who you are fundamentally from the inside out, not to be someone others want you to be, but to be who you ultimately long to be, which is just you're this really congruent, integrated being with warts and, you have all kinds of issues, as many of issues as the rest of us, but you're more congruent. You're more in yourself, which feels better to you, right? When we're really, truly in ourselves, there's less depression and anxiety. We have bouts of that, but they come and go because we keep coming back to our center, right? I really want to encourage you to do that work. And again, the best place I know how to do this, sure, you could choose therapy, you could choose a relationship coach. Those are going to help you. And to change patterns, you need a long-term commitment with accountability and someone that's going to hold your feet to the fire. So we do that here for you at the Relationship School. You just do the work. We hold you accountable. Come hang with us, okay? You can apply to our next round of Deeper just by going to relationshipschool.com/DPIR. All right, that's one place you can learn this. All right. Okay, great. I think that's all we got. Thanks, everybody. Look forward to connecting soon. And make sure wherever you follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, you leave a comment with this episode and you tell us how it was for you, what you learned about yourself, and what you're doing, what you're going to do about it, the action step. Okay, so the action step is listen to this fully, which you just did, and take action on yourself. Be honest. The very first step here is to be honest that, yes, I've got part of this dynamic going on in my relationship, or at least my past one. What am I going to do to change myself to be different? You got to get the focus off the other person. Okay, can you take personal responsibility that, yes, I do this, yes, I'm in this kind of dynamic, and yes, I want to do something about it, and finally, yes, I will do something about it, and here's what I'll do. Then you share that with one friend, okay? You share your action step with one friend in your life as accountability, okay? Cool, thanks everybody. Boom, and we'll talk soon. Hey, thanks so much for listening. Relationship School fans and Smart Couple listeners, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, all right? Do us a favor, subscribe, share one of these videos with a friend, all right? We want to help the planet get their act together around relationships, and you are one of them, so thank you.